Hello guys, welcome to Vishnu IAS Academy. Hope you are all doing well. Today, in continuation of the series of this Polity previous year question analysis, today we have come up with some more questions. Without wasting much more time, let's get into the topic. So here the question is, let's look at the first question over here. What is the question? With reference to finance bill and money bill in the Indian Parliament, consider the following statements. This is related to the Parliament legislature, the chapter of Parliament on the Parliament legislature, and especially the procedure for the passage and the introduction of the bills in the Parliament. So here the question is mostly focused on finance bills and money bills in the Indian Parliament. Consider the following statements. What are the statements given? When the Lok Sabha transmits the finance bill to the Rajya Sabha, it can amend or reject the bill. So what does the first statement says? When the Lok Sabha passes the finance bill to the Rajya Sabha, it can amend or reject the bill that has been passed to it by the Lok Sabha is the first statement. And the second statement says that when the Lok Sabha transmits the money bill, this is the question, this is the statement related to money bill. Here it is finance and here it is money one. To the Rajya Sabha, it cannot amend or reject the bill, but it can only make some recommendations. When it comes to the money bill that has been transferred from Lok Sabha to the Rajya Sabha doesn't have the authority to reject the bill, but it only can provide some recommendations to the bill. This is the second statement given. And the third statement, in case of disagreement between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, there is no joint sitting for money bill, but a joint sitting becomes necessary for financial bill. In these three statements itself, mostly all the information related to both money and financial bills have been covered. And what is the question? How many of the above statements are correct? Only one, two, or all three, or none of the statements are correct is the answer which you are supposed to answer in this question. So let's go to the explanation. So first of all, let's see what is a bill. Asal bill ante enti? What is a bill? A bill is it's nothing but a proposal for a legislation. What is it? A bill is a proposal which is given in the written form for a legislation, and this bill becomes a law or an act when it is passed by or when it is accepted by both the houses of the Parliament like Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and finally the assent or the declaration has been given by the President of India. Then that particular bill becomes a law. So during the initial stages of its introduction, this proposal is called as a bill. Clear? Good. Now, there are different types of bills that are to be introduced in the Parliament, based on their functions, based on their content, bills are divided into different types. Let's see what those are. Broadly, there are two kinds of bills. Remember this. Broadly, bills are of two kinds. What are those? Public bills and private bills. There are two kinds of bills, namely public bills and private bills. Public bills will be introduced only by the ministers of the government, of the central government. Whereas private bills can be introduced by any member of the Parliament. There is no need of him to be a minister in order to introduce a bill. So those bills introduced by any of the member of the Parliament are said to be the private bills, whereas public bills are supposed to be introduced only by the ministers of the concerned government in authority. Note it. Clear? And thereafter, there is also further classification among this public and private bills. What are those? See, there are 7 classifications among these bills. So first one is original bills. What is this original bill? So this original bill consists of new proposals, or policies that the parliament want to make it as a law. So it is totally a new bill, okay? So that is said to be the original bill. And second is amending bill. Amending bill is not a newer one. It is already the act which is in existential form and that which the parliament decides to amend or make any of the changes, either by adding or deleting any of the proposals that are already there in that particular act is said to be amending bill. Okay, and next, consolidating bill. Consolidating means bringing together, adding together. Okay, so consolidating bills are the bills that tend to consolidate existing laws on particular subject. Okay, so these are the, it is nothing but consolidation of the existing laws of a particular subject is said to be the consolidating bill. And repealing bills. These are the bills which seek to repeal the existing law. Okay. And finally, validating bills. Validating bills are the bills that give validity to certain actions that are supposed to be taken by the government or any other bodies or the authorities of the government. Okay? And finally, constitutional amendment bills, okay, and money bills and financial bills. These are the various types of bills. So now our question is related to these money and financial bills. Okay? Good. Now, what are money bills? Let's see in detail actually. Money bills are referred to in Article 110 of the Indian Constitution. Money bills are directly present or referred in the Constitution under the Article 110. Remember this. Okay, and next, it is the Speaker. Remember this point very carefully. It is the Speaker who has the highest authority to decide whether a bill is a money bill or not. It is the Speaker of the Lok Sabha who has the highest authority to decide whether a bill is a money bill or not. His decision is the highest and the ultimate such that no one, either in both houses of the parliament or even the Supreme Court, can decide, can question his decision. That is the ultimate authority given to the Speaker on the declaration of a bill as a money bill. Okay? So which means that Lok Sabha has the highest authority over money bills. This is also the point which you are supposed to remember. Okay, good. Now next, a money bill can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha, that too on the recommendation of President of India. Can be introduced only in the Lok Sabha and that too on the recommendation of the President. Okay, and next, third, after a money bill has been passed by the Lok Sabha, it sends the bill to the Rajya Sabha for considering it. Okay, when a money bill has been, listen carefully, when a money bill has been passed from the Lok Sabha to the Rajya Sabha is supposed to send back that bill within 14 days to the Lok Sabha with some recommendations only. Okay, this is the statement which we have seen over there if you remember clearly. In case of disagreement, when the Lok Sabha transmits the money bill to the Rajya Sabha, it cannot amend or reject the bill, but it can only make the recommendations. So this is a true statement. Okay, according to this, that is a true statement. First of all, it is supposed to send Rajya Sabha is supposed to send back the bill within 14 days, and it cannot reject the bill, but it cannot reject or modify the bill, but it can only make some recommendations to the bill. Clear? Okay. In case if the Rajya Sabha doesn't return the money bill, let's suppose in case if the Rajya Sabha doesn't return the money bill within 14 days span to the Lok Sabha, then the Lok Sabha decides that the bill has been passed, but it doesn't wait any further for the Rajya Sabha to send back the bill. Okay, so that is the power of the Lok Sabha over money bills, exclusively money bills. Remember this. Okay, and the Lok Sabha can either accept or even reject the recommendations made by the Rajya Sabha on money bills. Okay, and finally, hence Lok Sabha has the upper hand in case of money bills. and also the president also. Okay, this is a detailed information regarding the money bills. Money bills fall under Article 110 of the Indian Constitution. So we can say that this statement is correct. This is true. Second statement is true. And when it comes to financial bills are mentioned in Article 117 of the Indian Constitution. There are two types of financial bills, Financial Bills 1 and Financial Bills 2. These are mentioned in 117 clause 1 of the Indian Constitution, whereas financial bills are mentioned in 117 clause 3 of the Indian Constitution. Okay, when it comes to the Financial Bill 1, okay, it can either be rejected or amended by the Rajya Sabha. So when it comes to financial bills, you know, unlike the money bills, they can either be accepted or rejected by the Rajya Sabha. But when it comes to money bills, Rajya Sabha doesn't have the power to reject the money bill. Clear? Yes. In case of disagreement between both the houses regarding the financial bills, be it 1 or 2, okay, President will summon a joint sitting of both the houses to arrive at a consensus regarding the financial bill. But when it comes to the money bill, upper house doesn't have any say. So a joint sitting, there is no question of joint sitting. Simply, even if the Rajya Sabha doesn't agree also, money bill will be passed away. But that won't be the case with the financial bill. Okay, when a financial bill is not agreed by both the, that means both the houses will be having a equal say, equal power in deciding on the financial bill. Okay, yes. So now, if we see the statement third, in case of disagreement between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, there is no joint sitting for money bill, which is true. But a joint sitting becomes necessary for financial bill. Hence, this statement is also true. Isn't it? And coming to the first statement, you say, when the Lok Sabha transmits the financial bill to the Rajya Sabha, it can amend or reject the bill. This is also true. So, how many of the above statements are true? All the three statements are correct, which are given in the question. Clear? Very good. Now, let's see the next question. Consider the following statements. Once the central government notifies an area as community reserve, okay, this is related to Wildlife Protection Act. Once the central government, okay, declares certain area as a community reserve, the chief wildlife, the statements given over here are, the chief wildlife warden of the state becomes the governing authority of that particular community area. First statement. Second, hunting is not allowed in that particular area declared as community reserve. People of such area are allowed to collect non-timber produce, forest produce. And fourth statement, people of such area are allowed traditional agricultural practices. So, how many of the above given statements are correct is the question posed over here. How many? Either only one, only two, only three, or all four is the question. Okay. So, now let's see the explanation for this. Let's see first of all what are community reserves. Community reserves are the terms or the areas denoting protected areas. Community reserves are the protected areas of India which typically act as buffer zones or connectors and migration corridors between established national parks, wildlife sanctuaries and reserved and protected forests of India. Community reserves are the mediators or the buffer zones, okay, buffer zones of India, which will be acting as a migration corridors between already established national parks, okay, wildlife sanctuaries and forest areas of India. Okay, these will be acting as a buffer or the intermediate zones for all these three: wildlife sanctuaries, forests of India, and also the reserved areas also, and also the national parks of India. I forgot to write this. National parks of India. Okay, these are the intermediary areas that have been declared as protected areas by the government of India. Okay, so what, for example, let's suppose a particular area, Sanat Nagar area of Hyderabad has been declared as a community reserve by the government of India. What about the people living in that area or also people surrounding that area? Let's suppose those are tribals, okay? So then mostly Chhattisgarh, let's suppose a area in Chhattisgarh. Let's suppose a area in Chhattisgarh which has been declared as community reserve by the central. What about the people dwelling in that area or the surrounding areas, or the forest officers, okay, that are performing their duties in that area is all the question about, okay? So next, as per the section 36D of the Wildlife Protection Act, as per the section 36D of the Wildlife Protection Act of India, the state government will be constituting a community reserve management committee, okay, which shall be the authority responsible for conserving or guarding that particular community reserve. So that means wildlife guard doesn't have any authority to protect or guard the area declared as community reserve, but government will be, okay, allotting a special committee known as Community Reserve Management Committee, which will be handed over the charge of taking care of that community reserve. So first statement is wrong. Clear? The committee shall elect, even this committee also will be electing a chairman who shall be the honorary wildlife. He will be acting as the wildlife warden on the community reserve. But wildlife warden doesn't become the guardian of this community reserve. Okay, good. Now, second, hunting is not allowed in that community reserve area. Second statement. So, in community reserves, hunting of wild animals is strictly prohibited as per the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 to protect and conserve the wildlife. So, second statement is correct that hunting is not allowed in that area. So, statement one is, one of the statements is correct till now. Okay. And let's see the third one. People in such areas are allowed to collect non-timber forest produce. Are allowed. Okay, non-timber forest produce. Community reserves support the sustainable use of natural resources. See, remember, sustainable use of community reserves will be supporting the sustainable use of natural resources. Local communities are typically allowed to collect non-timber forest produce, provided it is done sustainably and under guidelines set by the management committee. We have already discussed, right? There will be a management committee allowed to guard this community reserve, right? So, in par with those guidelines set by this committee, the local people dwelling around that community reserve are allowed to collect non-timber forest produce from the forest, that too sustainably, that too in a limited manner without affecting the nature. Okay, so statement third is correct. Second statement is, third statement is also correct. Till now, two statements have been correct. Let's see the fourth one also. People of such areas are allowed traditional agricultural practices. This is the fourth statement given. Let's see the explanation. In a community reserve, traditional land use practices such as agriculture are usually restricted. Why are the agricultural practices restricted over there? Because to ensure that area's conservation goals are not compromised. What does reserved mean? Reserved itself means that prohibiting certain acts over there in order to protect that area. Isn't that so? So one of these prohibited acts is agriculture. So if agriculture is allowed to perform in those reserved areas, you know, there will be no meaning in declaring that as a reserved area, because there also the forest and everything are supposed to be cleared over there. Wildlife won't be sustained over there. Generally, these reserved areas will be declared so in order to protect the plants as well as the wild animals also. So if we allow agriculture, naturally all these practices or all these protections to the plants and animals won't be wild. Plants and animals won't be provided. So hence agriculture is banned over there. So this statement is also wrong. Finally, if we go back to the question, you tell me how many statements are correct. The chief wildlife warden of the state becomes the governing authority of the forest. Is it true or false? It is false. Next, hunting is not allowed in that area. Is it true or false? It's true. People of such area are allowed to collect non-timber forest produce. Yes, it is true. And people of such area are allowed traditional agricultural practices. Is false. So finally the answer is only 2 statements are correct. Okay, done. Now, next question. This is related to the scheduled areas. With reference to scheduled areas in India, consider the following statements. Okay? With reference to scheduled areas, consider the following statements. Within the state, the notification of an area as scheduled area takes place through the order of a president. The notification of a particular area as a scheduled area in a state takes place with the assent of the president, with the declaration, with the permission of the president, is the first statement they have asked over here. Okay. Second statement, the largest administrative unit forming the scheduled area is the district, and the lowest is the cluster of villages in a block. So here they are talking about the largest and the smallest area, administrative area of a scheduled area. Here they have given the option that largest area is district, whereas the smallest administrative area is cluster of blocks of villages. Is this statement true or false? Okay, next. The chief ministers of the concerned states are required to submit annual reports to the Union Home Ministry on the administration of the scheduled areas of his state. Okay, so is it the duty of the chief minister of the concerned state to submit the annual administration report of the scheduled areas to the Union Home Ministry? Is the third statement. So question is, how many of the above given statements are correct? Only one, no? Only 2, all 3, or none? Okay, let's go to the explanation part. First of all, let's see what are scheduled areas in India. Why are certain areas need to be declared as scheduled areas? Okay, so the scheduled tribes, so scheduled areas are related to the scheduled tribes. Remember this, okay? The scheduled tribes live in contiguous areas unlike other communities. Tribe people always try to live separately, okay, following their own traditions itself without mingling with the original society. It's not that they don't like, it is such that they want to be reserved. That's it. Even though they mingle with the original society, mainstream society also, they want to follow their own traditions. Okay? It is therefore much simple to have an area approach for the developmental activities as well as regulatory provisions to protect their interests. So what is the government supposed to do these tribal people? First of all, it is supposed to give some development, be it economic development or social development, and also it is the duty of the government to protect their cultures, rights and traditions also at the same time. Isn't that so? So for that, they will be providing regulatory provisions to protect tribal culture and traditions, and also it is supposed to develop the tribal areas also. So in order to perform these two functions, certain tribal areas will be declared as scheduled areas by the government. Okay, to give special governance to them, that's it. And why? See, in order to protect the interest of the scheduled tribes with regard to land and other social issues, various provisions have been enshrined in the 5th schedule of the Constitution. Okay, in order to protect their rights as well as the lands in which they are dwelling in. This various provisions have been enshrined in the 5th schedule of the Constitution. Don't forget this. Okay, 5th as well as the 6th schedule of the Constitution. This is the speciality of this scheduled areas in India. Okay, mostly for the protection as well as for the development of the tribal areas. Now, what is the criteria for an area to be declared as a scheduled area? There are certain criteria that were being given. What are those? First of all, preponderance of the tribal population. Tribal population should be excessive over there. Compactness and reasonable size of the area. Okay. Third, a viable administrative entity such as district, block or taluk, okay, should be there in that area. So administrative blocks are supposed to be there, be it districts, blocks or taluks. And finally, economic backwardness of the area when compared to the neighboring areas should be prevalent over there. It is only after considering these 4 criteria, a particular area will be declared as a scheduled area of the tribal population. Okay, now let's come to the statements. First, notification of the scheduled areas. According to Article 244 and the 5th schedule of the Indian Constitution, according to Article 244 and 5th schedule of the Constitution, the President can notify any area as a scheduled area through an order, usually after consultation with the governor of the concerned state. Okay, this is the first statement explanation. Okay, second, coming to administrative units of the scheduled areas. The administrative units of a scheduled area can vary in size, ranging from an entire district to specific blocks or clusters of villages. 3 levels of administrative blocks will be seen in the scheduled areas also. First is district, okay, district, specific blocks, and third one is cluster of villages. These are the 3 tiers of the administrative units that are seen in the scheduled areas of varying sizes also. Okay, next, there is flexibility in how scheduled areas are defined and demarcated based on the tribal population, social and economic status and other. What are the factors that are taken into criteria? First of all, tribal population, okay, over there, and next, their social and economic status, and also some other factors, education factors, etc. Okay, and their sex ratio are some of the factors. These are the examples which I am giving will be taken into criteria, and thereafter they will be dividing them into these various administrative blocks. Okay, so with this we can say that the second statement is also true. Now, reporting on administration, third statement on the administration of the scheduled areas. So there we have seen that Chief Minister is responsible for reporting to the Home Ministry. But let's see, according to the 5th schedule of the Constitution, it is the governor of a state with scheduled areas is required to submit a report on the administration of these areas to the President. So third statement is absolutely wrong. It is the governor who is responsible to submit the annual report of the administration of scheduled areas, that too to the President but not to the Union Home Ministry. Hence third statement is wrong. So, but it is not the Chief Minister's duty or the responsibility to submit the report, and that too also not to the Home Ministry. So statement 3 is correct, wrong over here. So if you see the answer, question, how many are correct? Only 2 of the statements are correct over here. That is, 1 is correct, this is true, okay, takes place through the order of a President, and this is also true. The largest administrative unit forming the scheduled areas is district, and the smaller one being the cluster of villages. These are the 2 statements which are true. Hence the answer B is correct. Only 2 statements are correct. Hope you benefit out of this, and on this note, I wish you all the best. Bye.